Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and this is basically a quick update in regards to what's going on with the HoloLens, the HUD systems, and the helmet at the moment. So I've got some first-person overlaid view of mixed reality from the HoloLens available to you, and to sort of give you a feel of where I'm heading with this. Certainly nowhere near finished article yet, but I wanted to give you guys a first person view. I wanted to get you guys effectively inside the HoloLens. You could see what I've got planned, and so you can visualize where I'm going with this. If nothing, just to demonstrate the feasibility of it. The implication, as I said in the previous update, is to integrate the HoloLens directly into the helmet, and obviously I've changed the design from being the Mark IV helmet to the Halo Infinite helmet. So I've already started printing. Printed a test piece of. Obviously, I had to section the model up in order to print it. I mean, my 3D printer's big, but it ain't that big. So I've already printed the first part of the Halo Infinite helmet. However, my scales were off, and I printed it too small. Because effectively, if I was to wear that, it's not happening. It's too tight, and my chin's sticking out the bottom here. It's too tight. It's not the right size. So my scales were off. It's a mistake, but hey, I've only lost filament, and that was filament I bought myself. So I haven't used donated funds for that. So upscale a little bit in size, and then I can print the various bits and pieces. I'm looking into the viability of changing a few things about the helmet to suit the situation that I'm sort of in here with the HoloLens. The implication, or at least the sort of direction I want to try to head, is to actually physically section the helmet up, because obviously this is a single unibody. I'm tempted to section the helmet up into smaller component pieces. So, for example, the mouth guard, cheeks, the brim of the helmet, here, maybe the upper crown, the torch modules, and around the rear of the helmet and stuff like that. Print those as independent components that would then be mounted onto an interior structure of sorts that would be designed to hold the plates, padding, electronics, HoloLens, breathing systems, and it would all be within its own, it would effectively have a skeletal frame inside with the armor plates physically attached to the outer surface. I'm tempted to go that way. I'm not exactly sure whether I will yet or not. I'm experimenting a little bit at the moment. I'm just deciding what's going to be feasible, what's easiest, what's most cost effective in that regard. So, printed too small, upscale. Thinking at least another 15 to 20% to make that large enough to effectively, because we don't want it, this size. We want it more this kind of size, But then I can integrate the HoloLens, because at the moment the HoloLens, there's no way it would fit inside of that. So helmet needs to be upscaled, and I need to make a few tweaks to the model itself to actually accommodate the HoloLens. So we can tweak with all of that down the line. But really, the big thing I want to demonstrate to you guys today is the actual mixed reality or augmented reality capabilities of the HoloLens, for the sakes of using it as the heads-up display for MJOLNIR. And I think with what I've got lined up for you, I think you'll agree the HoloLens is going to do everything we need it to and more. It's just going to take a little bit of tinkering and programming on my part to get there. So I've rambled on long enough, so let's actually get into this and show you what I'm up to. That was quite quick to track everything. So that was just an indication that the screen was tracking the surrounding area. So what it does is, it just like that, it tracks the area to see what space it's got to do what it needs to do. It creates like a ripple out from the moment you touch, like so, to track the area. Thereby meaning that it knows where it is in three-dimensional space and what it can do and where it can display things. Now I've turned the secondary display over here. What I'll do is I'll turn this one off completely because, oops, there we go, because it's just easier that way. So yeah, like I say, it can track. See, it's much more vivid. It can track where it is in three-dimensional space. So then, the idea, I'll show you what a really crude version of what the intention is here. So obviously, look at the wrist, and you can open up your start menu. The start menu here, you've got loads of different stuff you can do. So it literally is just a completely self-contained computer that you can do whatever you want with. But the trick is, however, is what I want to achieve. I can open a file explorer here. That's a bit close. Let's move that back a bit. So this is the actual HUD overlay that I use on my YouTube videos. That's displayed in the other one. So if I can now close that one. So that is the visual overlay that I use in the HUD systems. Now that's obviously in three-dimensional space, so to speak. But you can see that it's like, you know, it's evidently a photo. You can see some stuff behind it, like my hand is behind it now, and you can kind of see. But you get the idea. Now I can move closer to this, and it kind of stays there, but it kind of doesn't. It's clever stuff. However, go away. I didn't want that to happen. Come on. Thank you. However, we can place this in a mixed world. Now, this isn't what I'm actually going to do, but this is something similar to what I will be doing, because I've installed all the relevant software on the computer here that has the Unity engine and the development systems and packages and firmware that's required in order to develop applications specifically for the mixed reality HoloLens. Is that opened or not? I'll have a look in a second. So the plan is then to use this as a basic overlay. So the idea would be to attach this image or something similar to this image as a HUD overlay onto the visual feed of the HoloLens. Meaning that wherever I move, obviously this is a picture, stationary. Wherever I move my head, it remains in situ. I can move around, look at it from a different angle, and it remains in situ. Okay. See. The plan is to get that to actually attach to the visor, so when I move my head, it actually physically moves with it. That's the plan. But I've clicked. I'll just try again. Oh, close. Whoa! There we go. Oh, here we go. Right, now I need to close that. Sorry. Right, so there we go. It's now. It's now in three-dimensional space, so I can grab it now. So this will give you an idea. So this is actually physically in three-dimensional space now, as you can see. So this is the HUD overlay. Now, what's interesting now is that because it's in three-dimensional space and it's classing it as a mixed reality object, it's taken away some of the opacity, not opacity, the translucency of this screen. This is now actually, by definition, this although you can see the shadow from my gestures, or the light from my gestures, this is actually transparent. If it'll let me. Come on. Thank you. So I can stretch this out, make it a bit bigger. And the plan would be, so that's about that big. Move it a little bit better. So I'm going to move it a little bit closer to the screens, and then what I'm effectively going to do is, because this is now treating it as an object in. Oh, damn! God damn it! Come on. Yes, pick up. Pick up, please. Oh, come on. Oops. What? How do you track in? Seriously, or are you tracking both? Right, you're tracking both. Okay, whatever. No, you're tracking that one. Okay. Right, so that's now in three-dimensional space. I'll keep my hands out of the way. Now, if I just move a little closer, I'm trying to keep an eye on my peripheral as well to see where I am. But if I move a little closer, maybe it needs to come down a little bit. You get a feel for like I get to a point. What about there? I'm actually going. I'm going to scale it down, and I'm going to move it a little bit closer that way. Okay, you're not going to let me. Okay, I'll just rotate you a little bit then. There you go. So now I can kind of see in my peripheral, I can see this screen over here, which is where I'm getting the preview of what's going on that you can see. I mean, I can see this, but I can see this marginally, in a marginally different aspect ratio to what you can see it in the screen here. So if I try to get this about right, so this is, now you understand why I've put this on a dark background. So if I just move in just close enough, now see this is what I find fascinating, is that obviously this is a visual overlay of a HUD, but it actually looks like a physical object. If you look at the little top bit there, you know, actually the opacity is surprisingly, or the translucency is surprisingly. It's good in some places, but then in others, it does actually obscure the objects behind it somewhat, which is fantastic. But the idea, I'm trying to get my head into the right box here, but the idea would be to sort of, again, ignore the little menu at the bottom here. The idea would be to sort of get about there. Is that about right? Yeah, it's close-ish, but you get the idea. So the plan would be to overlay this directly onto the visor. So obviously at the moment it's in three-dimensional space, which means when I move around it remains in situ, which is why I can put my head through it and it stays where it is, and blah de blah de blah. So the plan would be to apply that in. So I'm going to build the Unity application where effectively that overlay or something similar to it is applied to my visual overlay. So when I move my head physically, move my head around, that tracks with me. So I'll be able to see it at all times rather than it being in three-dimensional space. And then effectively, if you look at the fact that it can track my hand, so what it's doing is it's effectively drawing a line between my palm and whatever it is it's roughly aiming at, and then I can use this to interface with things at distance. So you can do things where you can reach out and you can touch something directly, which you've seen me do with the menus. Like I can with this, so I can get the start menu up by looking at my wrist, and I can either touch it with this hand and it pops up, or I can pinch my thumb and index together and it, which is clever stuff. But this is designed to interact with things at a distance. Okay, so all this is doing is tracking my hand. Okay, however, it can track two at the same time, which is quite clever. However, even when they're, so imagine that is a targeting reticle. Now, rather than tracking my hand, it's obviously recognizing my hand through the cameras that it has on the front of the HoloLens. Now, there's also some infrared sensors on the front of the HoloLens that are designed to detect remote controls and the like hand remote controls that you can interact with things with in sort of your standard VR headset kind of arrangement. So now imagine that rather than this tracking my hand, we put two infrared nodes effectively along the rail of a weapon. It can be a real weapon, it can be an airsoft weapon, it can be it could be a VR weapon. In theory, with it tracking my hands, it could superimpose a rifle into the air, and I could physically I could manipulate the rifle, move it around and stuff. Now, I prefer the analogy to go with something like an actual real rifle, airsoft, or real gun, whatever. It doesn't matter. The function behind it remains the same. So now imagine that on the rail of that rifle, where you would have optics, you'd have your scope or your red dot scope or whatever it might be, or your iron sights. You have towards the front of the rail a infrared node, and towards the back of a rail you have an infrared node. And what those do is effectively tell the HoloLens where the front of the barrel is and where the rear of the barrel is. And what the HoloLens will do, as it is doing here with two different hands, I can intercept these and create effectively it's triangulating that position. Okay, so the idea is that these two nodes on the front and rear of the barrel will be tracked by the HoloLens in three-dimensional space. And what happens as a consequence of that is the HoloLens will track the known positions of its own cameras, find the triangulation of the two nodes, which gives it a trajectory, which I'm crudely representing here as the dotted line with the reticle at the end. Now notice if I move up further towards the wall there, so if I'm at my screen, you see that that dot is actually closer to me physically in space. However, if I move up onto the wall, it tracks that the wall is further away, so it puts the dot further away. You see? So now we have a trajectory. We have a targeting reticle and a trajectory. So what happens now is when you lift your weapon, it just like it tracks my hands when I bring them out from out of view into view. It tracks my hands straight away. Okay. So the plan is you bring your weapon up. It would track the infrared nodes on the rail of the weapon, giving you not only a target trajectory. Now that could be just a line like this through the air, which would obviously tell you where the bullet is going to physically pass, which is fantastic in and of itself, and that's actually very akin to the targeting systems of the M99 Stanchion rail sniper rifle. Okay, so now we know that that's actually tracking again. I can turn my screen off again. So, as I was saying, the thing you have then is your weapon can be out of view. The second you bring it up, it will track those two nodes, triangulate their position, and give you a targeting reticle on your HUD overlay that moves. Sorry, ignoring the detection there. It moves based on where you're aiming your gun. So imagine, haha, crude, but imagine that's your gun. I actually have a prop gun here somewhere from 2-penny props, which I should have got out for this. You get the point. So, oh, hang on, the dot's disappeared. Oh, okay, it's back. Sorry, the dotted line had disappeared. I just had the dot itself. That's interesting. Anyway, so yeah, the idea, it can be holstered, pull it out, tracks it automatically, and immediately gives you your target reticle, and then wherever you're aiming, it's physically moving with you, telling you exactly where the bullet's going to land. That's your targeting system's done. So we're going to have an application which has the HUD overlay actually attached physically to the field of view. So that means that when I move my head around, it will track with me. We can have this very basic, very simple tracking system built onto the rail of a weapon. Another really clever thing is that let's imagine that you have a weapon. It's got a scope on the top, and you have a camera built onto the scope. Now this sort of stuff I think already exists. So you have a camera built onto the scope which can see down the scope of your weapon. Okay, so now let's imagine we can get that camera overlay to open like it just did then with the start menu. Or for example, I can go onto Microsoft Edge there. I prefer to go on Chrome, to be quite honest, but there you go. I could go onto Edge there and go onto YouTube and watch videos. So that then you get moving images, a moving video, so to speak, overlaid onto your HUD. In fact, bear with me. I'm going to quickly stop the recording, and I'm going to upload a video of hopefully Halo. Maybe a sniper rifle view on Halo or something like that of gameplay, so we can actually see this. So bear with me. I'll quickly stop the recording, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what I mean. So bear with me. You'll get the feel for it then. There we go. So there you go. So effectively, that is now a freeze frame of the video in mixed reality. Now, the hardware and software that goes into this idea, this concept, is practically identical to the idea of a smart scope. So what's happening right now is this is a video. Admittedly, it's a video that's on the internet, and it's being streamed through an internet browser, through into the Microsoft HoloLens, and then it's being displayed augmented reality or mixed reality onto my view. And I'm able to see what that video feed is seeing, which just so happens to be the view down a sniper scope in Halo CE from my own Armory video. But the hardware and software of that is actually pretty much identical, because effectively in real life we'd have a sniper rifle, or we'd have a a scoped rifle of some degree. There would be a camera mounted to the scope. That camera can be basically a Wi-Fi camera or a wireless display camera that would allow its feed to be picked up in closed loop in a sort of closed loop communication via Wi-Fi by the HoloLens. Then its view down the scope would be available to the HoloLens to display in exactly this manner. So obviously the brightness on this is actually relatively, I don't know if changing the brightness on my end actually changes the brightness on your end or not. Your battery is critically low. Oh dear. Nevertheless, you get the point. So we've got the idea of a smart scope directly down the scope of rifle. We have the idea, as it's tracking me at the moment, of targeting reticle in real, in regards to tracking the trajectory of the weapon via 2 nodes put on the rail of the rifle. We also have the idea of visual HUD overlay, as I showed you earlier, which would actually move with the physical vision of the wearer. And as far as like things like the shield monitor and things like that, I was thinking in at least not in necessarily this version of the HUD that's being displayed in Halo CE here, but in the version that I showed you earlier, where the shield bar would be, I'm instead thinking of replacing that with biometric readouts. So obviously the BDU actually has heart rate monitors, blood pressure monitors, and blood oxygenation monitors, and I'm thinking of finding a way to intuitively display that information on where the shield bar would otherwise be. So yeah, like I said, I've installed the Unity engine. I'm having a little play. I'm sort of teaching myself the Unity engine, although if there are people out there that are familiar with the Unity engine and can probably put this together a damn sight faster than I could, I implore you to get in contact with me either via Discord or even in the comments of this video, and yeah, we'll go from there. But the hardware is effective. I mean, as you can see, the hardware is already pretty much well established. All it would be now is developing the software in the Unity engine to give us the HUD overlay, the targeting, reticle, and a smart scope and some biometric readouts in regards to health monitors and things like that. And we're pretty much well on our way to having a fully functioning HUD. Then the trick is just integrating it into a Halo helmet.